Hi there, Faisal here. In this short video, I'd like to talk a bit about learning as a competitive advantage. And after watching this video, you should know why you should embrace lifelong learning and why you should implement a structure to learn faster and easier. But before I get into the subject, I'd like to tell you a bit about myself. I have a passion for lifelong learning, mind mapping, and implementing and automating systems. Because of this, I created actually a magazine called Using Mind Maps Magazine, which is a free magazine on your mobile device. I've been publishing this magazine for more than 2 years and it's free. I'm the editor and the publisher of the magazine, and I create and curate tips, tools, techniques, resources, and opinions of leading mind mapping experts and vendors to make you more successful. More successful at work, in your business, in your education, and in your personal life. A short while ago, I sent out an email asking you about lifelong learning and whether you have a culture of lifelong learning. And I received some interesting responses. Many of you believe it's important, especially with the social, economic, and technological changes happening at the moment. But would like to take it a bit further to tell you that it's not just important. You actually need something more than just believing it's important. Some of my thoughts were prompted by an interesting guy called Arie de Geus. Arie de Geus wrote a book called The Living Company, in which he spoke about the learning organization. And he introduced me to the concept of learning as a competitive advantage. In fact, he found it to be so important that he said, your ability to learn faster than your competitors may be the only sustainable competitive advantage. While I may not believe that it's the only competitive advantage, I definitely believe it is a competitive advantage. And if you embrace this, it could change your life. As usual, being a system, I put together a system to do exactly this. Now you may be asking the question, is this important to me? Before you could answer this question, I'd like to ask you a few questions. And I'd like you to do a bit of self-analysis first. How knowledgeable are you about whatever you're doing at the moment? How do you rate yourself? Are you average, above average, below average? What's your current performance like at work, in business, at school, university, college? And then, how could learning help you be more successful? Then I'd like you to do a bit of a environmental analysis. Look around you. What are the people around you doing? Have they embraced lifelong learning? Are they using it as a competitive advantage? Now, based on analysis of yourself and those around you, you may ask yourself the question, is it possible for me to gain a competitive advantage using lifelong learning? Is it difficult? Because you may come to the conclusion that this is not for you. See, we've been fed many myths and lies. For example, that it's only for the naturally gifted, or that your abilities are predetermined and you cannot change this. And therefore, you may not have a lifelong learning strategy. What is your lifelong learning strategy like? Are you on a path of lifelong learning? Do you have a lifelong learning process? Do you have current learning objectives? Future learning objectives? How do you manage your time and yourself when it comes to lifelong learning? If you are like many people that I know and people I've seen around me, you may be stuck because people are stuck everywhere because they simply think that change is not possible and therefore they don't have a learning strategy in place. And I believe this could be good for you because you could use this to your advantage, because if you implement a system, the system will give you an advantage, and therefore by giving you an advantage, you can improve. You can go for that new job, that promotion, get better grades, and acquire new skills. And all you have to do is implement a learning system. Now, I've been talking about this learning system quite a while. What is the system I'm talking about? Well, the system is simply 4 phases. I believe that if you implement these 4 phases, you will be able to learn faster and easier. It's the preparation phase, the acquiring of the skills and knowledge, applying the skills and knowledge, and then keeping sharp. But instead of giving you a long theoretical story about this, I'm going to illustrate it by means of a case study. And the case study I'm going to use is somebody who's discovered golf for the first time. In actual fact, why not do a little bit of a role play? Imagine you've discovered golf and you want to embark on this great journey. What's the first thing that you do? Well, in the preparation phase, you may start doing a few things. You may acquire the resources and equipment that you need or that you believe you need to be able to learn golf. You may buy some to learn and play golf. You buy new clubs, not any club, but the best clubs you can afford. New balls or self-correcting balls. You may get some DVDs, watch YouTube videos, do online courses to learn about it, and you even go and enroll with a personal coach and buy new clothing because the golf course has its own dress code, something that you won't wear in the road necessarily. And you may buy some books and subscribe to some magazines. The next step would be acquiring the skills and knowledge that you need. And these are some of the skills that I've put together which a golfer may need, and you go about learning these skills. Once you feel you've got some level of competency with these skills, you need to start applying these skills. And that'll be the next stage, application. You may go to the driving range, the putting green, and improve your driving and your putting. And once you feel you have some level of competence in this, you want to apply it in a different environment, and you may enter a social event or even a tournament. And you'll find that in the early stages, your progress is great. You grow at a rapid pace, but then something happens. You hit what is called the plateau. Now, the plateau is it's a stage where even if you put in 10, 15 hours a day, even if it's not practical, you simply do not improve. And that's where many people become despondent. But that's a time where you should actually stop, reflect, look what you're not doing right so that you can learn and improve. And by doing that, you'll find you'll again start improving and go to the next level. I call this sharpening the saw. If you picture yourself having a number of trees to cut down, and you're given a saw, and you start cutting, and as you're cutting, the saw starts getting blunt, and making the next tree more difficult to cut. And if you don't stop, take some time out, sharpen the saw, it will continually getting more and more difficult. But if you do that, the next tree, if you do sharpen the saw, the next tree will be just as easy to cut as the first one. That's the analogy of sharpening the saw, and we'll talk more about that in the future. Now basically, that is a quick overview of the 4-step system that you put in place to actually learn faster and easier. And I've taken this 4 steps, or this 4 phases, and put together a system to enable you to learn how to learn. I always tell people this: you've spent your whole life learning. How much time have you spent learning how to learn? Now there's a 10-step process which I will reveal to you in the next video. And if you implement any one of those steps, it could radically improve your life. But you'll have to wait till the next video. In the meantime, I'd like to talk a bit about preparing yourself to learn and the preparation phase for that. And I've put together this mind map, which I call a mind map learning portal. I've added some categories. You can add your own. But to these categories, you can start adding the equipment and resources that you need to be able to learn whatever subject it may be, or to improve your current career, or to improve your grades. Take some time out to do this. You can use this mind mapping as a framework. You can download some free mind mapping software or use the software that you have at the moment. I prefer you to use software because software makes it interactive, so you can link directly to the resources that you put in the mind map. Okay, that's it for now. But before you sign off, I'd like to tell you a bit about, I'd like to ask you to give some feedback if you don't mind. Email me with your thoughts on this. Comment on Facebook and Twitter. I'd really like to know your thoughts before the next video. Keep well.